Boruto episode 56, Rivals Gather. So this episode I would definitely say was entertaining. Much like the last one, most of this content was new. I say the last one was kind of half and half. This one I would say was mostly brand new content. Pretty much like the very beginning and the end were pretty much the only things that were actually in the original movie. Boruto being at home in the beginning, him kind of going out for the day, him getting the email and stuff at the very end of the episode where it's like, oh, he gets the email and he ends up saving it and stuff, and some of the things where he's like, oh, I can't really use the ninja tool, and everything that they did at the very end of the exam, all that stuff was real. Them like falling in the pit and stuff, that was from the movie. I don't know why I said real, but that was from the movie. But the stuff that they added was pretty much everything in between. Everybody else coming to the village, them doing the opening ceremony, all that stuff was new, which I love because Shikamaru was like, you guys can test out your skills, and he looks over, and his son is just like looking off into the sky. Inojin is just looking bored like crazy, and Jojo is she was just, normally eating her chips, but it was just funny. He was just like, God, like, do they even give a crap? So I thought that was funny. We get to see some of the other Kage come into play. They kind of bring back the hit and miss stuff. So Kagura, we get to see him again. So I thought that was pretty cool. It was like, oh, it's a nice little sequence there. So we get to see him, get the Mizukage, Suichikage, Raikage as well. So we get to see them. Gar will be showing up, whenever he ends up showing up. But I thought that was cool. Get to see a lot of the other characters come in. All the kids kind of meeting at the favorite spot that they always love to eat at. All the little kids meet in there. I shouldn't say little, but all the kids meet in all the other teams. Some of the teenagers and stuff coming in from the Stone Village with the one dude who looks super creepy. But we were about to see like their ultimate move, and then they all just fall. And I love that scene too. It was like they tripped, and then it was just like right on that paper bomb. And so I was like, well, they were screwed. So they probably got something, going on there. But I thought that was cool, getting to see all the different teams show up and who's going to be important throughout the tuning exam. Because as I mentioned before, none of these people matter, like, at all. They pretty much picked all the characters that were in the movie, like the three twins. They're going to be, of course, in the next episode, but they were in the movie, like the three twins from that specific exam. That's straight from the movie. So they were in there. The one kid that Boruto keeps having the little rivalry with, he is in the movie. So I thought it was cool that they kind of built that up, that they don't like each other from the beginning, because they will end up fighting later on, of course. So I thought that was cool. I was like, okay, that's a nice way to kind of build that up, because in the movie there's just like, okay, that's just the person he's fighting, but now it's like they have this bit of a rivalry. He calls him out at the end of the episode where it's like, you would have lost if it weren't for your friends, because like Boruto was about to give up and he pretty much failed the test, but his teammates saved him, and that's the only reason he passed, because he was like, crap, I screwed up, and he was just gonna fall into the ink. So I like that they played that up a little bit more, because that wasn't in the movie either, because they didn't have that connection where he got called out. So I like that. Shiki, getting in between them when they were at the restaurant and everything, where it's like, what's this dude's problem and stuff. So everybody kind of had, way more interaction than they did in the movie, because they just kind of showed up. Shiki wasn't even, like a thing. He was just like somewhere in the background, and I knew that he was important, because I was like, that character looks super cool, but they never did anything with him in the movie. So I'm actually really excited to see what they use him for in the actual anime, because he does nothing, in the actual movie, and I don't know about the manga because I haven't gotten there yet. But definitely a fun episode. I definitely enjoyed it. Them going through the first test that was, all brand new stuff, where it's like, you have to get to this point to get to the actual true or false exam, and people realized like he was already doing the timer. So I was like, okay, that's, a nice little part of the test. And then they go through and all that stuff was brand new. We get to see Tenten, which I thought was pretty sweet, because I knew she was going to show up for the next exam, because that's where she shows up in the movie, because the whole forest thing doesn't exist in the film. So I was like, well, that's cool. All the different traps and people just getting, that was funny too. Like, a lot of stuff in this episode was funny, but it was mostly like people getting hurt. But people getting hit by the logs was just looked really funny, and people just like hitting explosions and paper bombs. So all of it was super funny, and I like some of the action that we got to see too, where they were fighting the robots. But I was like, that's pretty cool. I thought that was a really good addition to stuff that wasn't in the movie. So we get to see the different teams and how they play out, and Shiki being like, just try not to use your jutsu, because we don't need to, the normal stuff, which took me right back to the old tuning exams, where it's like, you can show off some of your techniques, but maybe don't show off everything you got, because once you get to the one-on-one stuff, people have been like, okay, I saw them do that. So I thought that was kind of cool. And like even the kid with the bubble gum, like they show him kind of just spitting the gum and knocking out all the robots. And in his head, he's like, I still got a few tricks up my sleeve. So it was like, he went and used a couple of his moves or one of his moves. And then it was like, I still got it covered. And Shiki was like, just don't use anything. Let's just beat these things up. And the brothers kind of did the same thing where they kind of just did like a triple attack. So I like what they showed. We got introduced to the different groups. The three Stone members are brand new. The triplets are in there. Shiki and his group technically are in there, but they have like no relevance whatsoever in the film. But the triplets are going up against Team Seven in the next episode. The kid with the bubble gum who has I forgot, but he also had the Killer Bee necklace, which I always thought was cool. I think he had that in the movie too, and I was like, that's just kind of cool. And he had like the actual QB version, so I thought that was pretty sweet. But the he's actually in the movie, going up against Boruto, but the other characters, the Stone people, are like brand new. They may have been in there too, because technically, like I said, Shiki was in there in the movie, but he had like no lines whatsoever. So maybe those three characters were in the movie, and I just never paid any attention because they didn't have like crazy metal, sand cloaks on them, which is super hard to miss, even in a movie where they don't focus. I'm like, that kid looks cool back there, so makes more sense now, even if that wasn't, maybe that was never the plan, or maybe it was always the plan. They were like, let's just throw a sweet character in there, we'll use them later. But definitely a fun episode. Certainly looking forward to the next one. I think it'll probably go back a little bit, considering they're going into kind of the tournament stuff. It depends how they stretch it out, because I think in the movie, it may have been like a 10-minute sequence, if it was even that long, to be totally honest, when they do the fight against the triplets. It was definitely a cool scene. So I am curious if they'll expand it, or if they'll just kind of do what they did in the movie and then maybe add some of the other content from the other teams, which I would love to see that. So that's what I'm looking forward to the most. I've said that a million times, but they've already gotten into that just a little bit. Of course, having Denki, Iwabe, and Metal in there, Sumidi and her team, and seeing how their two teams survived, it was like, okay, that's obviously brand new because they don't even exist in the film. So it's like, all right, we'll get to see them do their fights. Maybe we'll see. I would assume we'll see Metal, Iwabe, and Denki go up against the other Stone members, because they have like this whole thing where Iwabe is like, they look like they have some secret techniques and they were about to see it, and then of course they totally fumbled and screwed themselves over. But I assume they still passed, because otherwise that was kind of let go of what seemed like it would be a cool little rivalry. So I'm sure we'll get to see that maybe in the next episode, depending on, like I said, how far they stretch out the Team 7 versus the triplets thing. But I am looking forward to it either way. I know we have, considering this episode and the last one, now I'm really enjoying what they're adding, because they're adding a lot more extra content. This one was, more action based, so I enjoyed that. But going forward, we'll get to see more of the newer teams, or just other teams in general that didn't have any focus in the movie. Now we'll get to see that in anime form. So I'm definitely excited for that, especially with some of the stuff that I know is coming up. I'm looking forward to seeing what they kind of add in there, that they kind of, some stuff they did touch on. I think they did touch on some of the other fights in the movie, but it was just like, okay, here's this person, here's that person, win, lose. And then it's like, all right, now the main character is fighting, and it's Boruto versus the kid. So looking forward to seeing some of those fights kind of get stretched out, and hopefully they actually do look really cool. So I'm looking forward to that. One thing to talk about with this episode, of course, is the fact that it was late. I actually did watch it this morning before I went to work, because fortunately today was my late day, so I actually got to see it before going into work. I don't really know what kept them, the extra day. Like, I felt like there wasn't that much really added. Like, I know it was a lot of new content, so I don't know if it was them working around, cherry picking the scenes that are just ripped straight from the movie, or what. I feel like a lot of the stuff that they had in the movie that they used in this, most of that they changed around anyway, because it was either different dialogue, or it was just extra scenes were kind of thrown in the middle. So I don't know if that was what really threw them off, but I was like, I feel like this episode wasn't as crazy as some of the other stuff we've seen them do before, and it was just like, I don't know, maybe it was just crazier than they expected, so we just got it a day late. So I thought that was interesting. But definitely a good episode. Looking forward to next week. But of course, would love to know what you guys thought about this one. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, least favorite parts. Of course, with us going forward, I kind of always do the same thing now the past couple of weeks, ever since we started this arc. But for those of you who have not seen the arc, or never saw the movie, so you don't know at all where we're headed, I would love to know your predictions on who's going to pass and who's going to fail by the time we get to the end of the Chunin exams. That's another thing I'm curious about, considering how the movie plays out. I'm curious what they're gonna do to kind of switch that up, especially now that they have the third villain. I'm curious if it'll take longer to get to that the crazy ultimate climax of the movie because it was fairly quick in the film. So it's like, well, now they have an extra villain. Of course, it's the series version, so they're chopping it up, probably throwing in more of the fight. So I am curious how that's gonna ultimately change up anyway. But I would love to know your predictions on how that's gonna play out, whether you've seen the movie or not. Now things are really starting to change. They're just adding stuff that's kind of still going in line normal, but at some point we're gonna start to get to like the really different stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. Eventually, when the villains officially come in, looking forward to that too. But we'd love to know your predictions on how things are gonna kind of play out during the Chunin exams. And of course, like I said, want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.